Привіт.
Привіт. Так, передаю тобі права ко-хоста.
Ну, я ж коли вийду, я все одно потім залишуся ко-хостом, то воно так вже.
Можемо перевірити, я не впевнена.
Давай, зараз ти даш мені, а потім зайду, подивлюся, що в мене там є.
Давай, пробуємо.
Ага, є. Зараз я вийду і зайду знову.
Угу.
Так. Then, hi everyone. Thank you for joining for the webinar with Aina Alive that PMI Ukraine Chapter has organized. Aina is experienced Agile and Business Consultant. She has more than 10 years experience with business transformation, and she is also a member of Forbes Coaches Council. I mean, Aina, you are like amazing example to as leadership to follow with, and we are so happy that you would share some of experience from your career about what mistakes happened in there while you're acting as agile coach. So stage is yours, and really happy to have you here.
Thank you very much for this introduction, Stefania, and let me share my screen, and please let me know if you can see it.
Yeah, we do.
Fantastic. So thank you again, and thank you for hosting me here with the Ukrainian PMI chapter today. So my presentation today is about mistakes I've made as a coach throughout my career. So I prepared 7 main mistakes, but I made way more than 7. It's just 7 is my favorite number. And also I've chatted with Stefania earlier and tried to accommodate your questions and concerns about Agile, and was also wanted to learn more. So I tried to incorporate your questions into my presentation. And let's just get started with the slides. All right, so let's start with a general note about the Agile Manifesto and what I found in the 15th Annual State of Agile Report by Digital, that 50 to 96% of Agile transformation processes fail because of inability to rapidly adapt to market and environmental changes in a productive and cost-efficient manner. There's an alarming Agile transformation failure that indeed, but yeah, this failure consists of different aspects, and one of these aspects is also a mistake we make as humans. And that's why I believe that it's going to be important to talk about mistakes we make at work, knowing that especially in Agile, like any other transformational culture, people prefer talking about success cases and what went well compared to what is happening wrong. But we need to know what was wrong to learn and to fail and experiment and fail fast, as Agile is teaching us. And why I prepared this presentation, because when I just started my career as a Scrum Master and then was promoted to an Agile coach, I was looking for something like that online. And unfortunately, I didn't have many cases of someone who would share openly what made them fail at their roles, or people who share, they share very general notes, I supposed to listen more, or provide more authenticity, which is kind of every second blogger uses these general statements without any examples. Then I started talking to people. I got many mentors before I started mentoring myself. So those people were mostly hard skill people coming from project management background or software background. So they told me about hard skills they used to, instead of using the soft skills. Again, they didn't listen and jumped into conclusion very fast and try to monitor and control And like some of them were like really control freaks, so also like they needed to work on to be a successful agile coach. The others were like perfectionists and needed to work on that, but neither of that was applicable to me because my strengths was always soft skills compared to hard skills. So I'm still like having a gap in some hard skills I need to have as a coach. So that was another reason why I wanted to prepare that presentation, because maybe there is someone like me who like has soft skills as strengths, and what can we do better as agile coaches, and what mistakes we can avoid if we have soft skills as a strengths and need to pay more time for the hard skills. And let's look at 10 agile transformation challenges we have like globally and from one enterprise to another. So first of all is a lack of agile understanding, and this will lead to one of the mistakes I made when I was just transitioning. Scoping others agile transformation projects, very common one for like talking about best practices and again, best cases, successful cases, rather than talking about disadvantages and failures. Not investing in hiring the right resources. This is another challenge. Technology focused instead of being customer focused. Again, like talking about hard skills versus soft skills. Project oriented instead of product oriented. Organizational culture, restricting agile to pilots, underestimating communication and collaboration, lack of management support, a low participation from teams. So all of this leads to challenges, but again, as I mentioned, our mistakes as human factor also leads to reducing the number of successful cases for the transformation. So one of the questions I got prior to this session was what inspired me to start a career in the Agile and transition to Agile, and how I was inspired and how I fell in love with Agile. So I prepared this slide for one of my webinars regarding the 6 laws of Elon Musk, which was true Agile, and these 6 laws, they live and breathe Agile. So just look at the first one: avoid large meeting, leave a meeting if you are not contributing, forget the chain of commands, be clear but not clever, ditch frequent meeting, use common sense. So especially the last one, use common sense. How I pivoted to Agile, because when I was introduced to Agile a bit more than 10 years ago, I was so impressed, because to me it was like mostly common sense what I've been using prior to my switch when I was an electrical engineer back in Ukraine, working in Donbass. And then I moved to the Maldives and work in the hotel, like a receptionist and front desk manager. Then I moved to Canada. Like in between, I had few other like smaller transitions. I was an English instructor, I was a nail designer, like few other jobs in between, but like everywhere to me, like leading with humility, which is like very buzzword and nowadays, like showing compassion and agility and other soft skills like active listening. That was part of my DNA, what I did naturally. But moving from one organization to another, like in Ukraine, and then moving from one profession to another, from one wheel to another, from one country to another, I noticed that what was like common sense for me, it's not common sense for leaders and for the teams I work with. And then appeared that most people have hard skills rather than soft skills, and I'm in the minority with soft skills. So yeah, that's why Agile appeared to our world a bit more than 20 years ago only. And before that, it was mostly like command and control from project management. So when I was introduced to a Scrum Master role, which was a servant leader, I thought, wow, that was me doing it naturally wherever I was, when I was a project manager or electrical engineer or receptionist. I was a servant leader. I never liked, like managing team from the top. I am not detailed oriented person, so that's what made me pretty mediocre engineer, and also worried 24/7 about making the mistakes or like forget to to make a dot and like to place a dot somewhere in the middle of my drawing, which makes like a total different drawing from the engineering perspective. So having this lack of attention definitely gave me a clue that I need to do some like teaching job or like project management job. So naturally, my director back in Ukraine moved me to a project manager position, which was a bit easier from the one hand, which is what as not detailed oriented as an engineering. And I was managing engineering projects, so I had some knowledge in engineering, so it was easier for me to manage and to understand what people were talking about in these projects and what we need to achieve. But as I mentioned, I never liked being on the top, like managing team from like hierarchical perspective. I was always like a servant leader, trying to find out personal approach to each of the team members, to build the team, kind of like to be a glue between the team and their organization, like overall, but nobody values that. People believe that this is just a waste of time rather than managing and calculating budget precisely and like doing logistics and everything else what a project manager does. So it was also not the best place for me from that perspective. Well, then I moved to the Maldives and started working in a totally different environment in the hotel, where was also challenging because it was ongoing process. So there was no achievement, no result, no project. So it was just operational. Like you start your shift, you talk to the customers, you answer the phones, you coordinate housekeeping, room boys, etc. And then at the end of the day, you are tired because you didn't have time even to breathe. They keep talking to many people again and again in different languages, but you never achieved anything like to show someone because there is no project there, it's just operational work. So that's how I realized that I still want to work with projects, but not as a project manager. And then the universe heard me and introduced me by accident to Agile and Scrum Master role. I just moved to Kiev at that time and wanted to attend a Toastmasters group, but it was in the same building where I saw the advertisement to like Agile, and it was a very cute cheetah on this advertisement and a waterfall on the other hand. So I thought, yeah, I know about Toastmasters, I can join them next week, but this cheetah looks so cute, so I need to listen what is going on there. So I got to that meetup and appeared that they're talking about Agile in first like 10 to 15 minutes. I didn't understand what they're talking about. But then I realized that they're talking about like waterfall approach in software, and Agile is something new compared to waterfall. So I was curious and connected with speakers after that. So they gave me a proper introduction to a Scrum Master role. And that was when I was clicked, and yeah, that's who I am. That's what I want to do. And when I moved to Canada, I needed extra points to immigrate. So I applied for MBA here in Vancouver and SFU Simon Fraser University, because I already had master's in engineer back from Ukraine. So I wanted, like, if I get another degree, I needed something like to match my master's degree from Ukraine. So I decided MBA is going to be like cool 3 letters next to my last name on LinkedIn and on my resume. So I got an MBA in technology, and that was my final transition to technology and my role as a Scrum Master. And yeah, I never regret after I did it, because now what I do is kind of teach people what I've been doing since I just started working. And this slide is just an example of common sense and fun and agility and team building we do with our organization, and change their lifestyle and work. And so making these organizations up to date, modernized, and happy workplace. Because what I also found out that like young startups, they're cool, they're mobile, but they don't have enough funds to afford agile coaches and Scrum Master, and they're also quite small. So they operate like agile and without like knowing much about agile. But who really needs agile is large enterprises who are conservative, who are like 100 or around 100 years old, where people have been working since they graduated from schools and until their retirement. So these organizations really need changes. And when you come and see the old school model and start working with them to help them to get better and go through the pain, and first nobody wants change because, you know, people don't like change in general, and you need to be aware of that when you are an agile coach. So people won't like you, they would reject you initially, but you need to be ready and just go through this pain with them. And when they get the first results, that's where you actually start working, and this is where the actual joy of your work and fun and motivation. So hopefully I answered that question, why I am in love with Agile, and hope I also motivate some of you to consider that profession. Another question we had before we move on to the mistakes is about the certifications and different frameworks of Agile. So I have Kanban certification, PMI CP, and Scrum org, and also SAFe. I need to update the slide. But there were questions about Nexus, less discipline, Agile, and other frameworks, which I am quite not aware of. So I studied them because I want to know how these frameworks are different from what we do. But I never worked in Nexus or less or discipline Agile. So by preparing to this, I was thinking maybe I will just prepare some comparing table, how like SAFe is different from Scrum, or like Nexus is different from SAFe. But then I was thinking, like, what I'm going to tell you guys is just some notes I made from different articles and YouTube videos, because I've never done less or Nexus myself. And again, part of the role of the Agile coach is not to be the smartest person in the room, but to embrace talent and facilitate the discussion. So I have a question for you. Do we have anyone in this room today who ever implemented or was closer to less or SAFe or Spotify or any other less popular models? Please raise your hand or text us on chat, or even unmute yourself. We don't have many participants, so I think we can use the mics to speak up.
Hello, I am Lydia, yeah, and at the moment I'm working with SAFe. So yeah, it's American product company, and we are working according to SAFe. So we have in my training it's 17 teams, and we have 3 trains. Yeah, so and it works. Yeah, actually it works. Yeah, and it looks like Agile. So yeah, so I'm a Scrum Master, and we have so we are working just according to this SAFe. So all the principles, all the events. So yeah.
Thank you, Lydia. Could you
So,
tell us how the different?
Yeah,
Yes?
you know, so I just got a lot of feedback that SAFe, it's actually not Agile, you know? So it's like this trend, yeah, yet actually it's Agile, you know? The main thing, so from my point of view, it's, so actually it's, yeah, it's like Scrum, yet it's scaled Scrum and has a lot of other events, you know, in addition to Scrum events. Yet anyway, so the main point here is mindset. If within the organization we have this agile mindset, that I guess it works. So yeah, and that's like, for me, it's like the main thing that I learned, yeah, from here.
Do you think it's kind of like a mini waterfall?
Nope. No, no, not. It's not waterfall. So yeah, it's not waterfall. So if we are talking like that, then Scrum is waterfall too. So yeah, so it's the same. So no, I don't think so. So I worked according to waterfall. It's like different stuff. Yeah.
Thank you, Lydia. And how SAFe is different from Scrum? Sorry to keep pointing on you.
So Scrum, so it's scaled. No, so it's scaled Scrum. So actually, it's So we have the same. So the base is the same. So we have retro, we have daily, we have planning, we have demos, and in addition to that, we have PI plannings for 3 months. So we are trying to like not determine yet to be aware what we are going to do within next 3 months. So it's like the main, the main difference. So we are trying to plan within 3 months, so 3 months ahead. And when you have like a lot of teams and you have some dependencies sometimes within these teams, so you need to know what to expect from other teams. And here, I guess it works okay. So yeah, it works like it should work. So here is like the main difference. So planning 3 months ahead. We know that we can plan only like for 2 iterations, not for 6 iterations ahead. Yet we are trying to make a preliminary plan or something like that. So like high level planning. Yeah, not exactly all the stories within the API.
Awesome. Thank you, Lydia. We also work with SAFE now. We started working 2 years ago with one of the largest insurance companies in Toronto, in Canada, and like even globally. So we are still have like lots of things to improve there, and definitely for us it's like more like waterfall than agile, because the organization is more than 100 years old. So the old school like mentality and way of working. And I was like very like skeptical about SAFE prior to that experience. So whoever like wanted to hire me for a SAFE, I declined those goals. But here I saw that we really can help this organization. So I was like, okay, let's start with SAFE and then see how it's gonna go. But we change like such like large enterprises, like on a click, from like waterfall to like real like agile mindset, even like working in SAFE. So leaders still want command and control, teams still don't want to take responsibilities and wait for people to tell us what to do. It's like our increments planning is still like very prescriptive. We deliver features like every like 3-4 months. So it means like less agility that we want to, but again, like talking about large scales, we can't just jump to Scrum or like everyday delivery like Google or Amazon do, because they started from this model and we are transforming to this model. So now I believe that SAFE is probably like one of the best approaches for such like old and conservative enterprises. And thank you, Lydia, for sharing your examples. So SAFE also can have agile mindset, and we have hope with SAFE.
Yeah, thank you. I see that it's like very like not quite the same yet. I joined this company only like I'm working here only 3 months, and they started to work according to SAFE last year or something like that. So it's like dish company. It's a very old company, and they worked according to waterfall, more than I don't know actually how many years they worked according to waterfall, yet it's quite old company. So yeah, and the problems were the same, yet I'm happy to be already when they like already made this transformation, so it's like we need to live with that as far as I got it. So you need to go through all this process. Yeah.
Thank you, Lydia. And do anyone worked with like more exotic frameworks like LESS or Nexus here? I don't see hands and I don't see the comments, but I see the question on the chat. What are the major difference between SAFE, Lean, Kanban, and Scrum? So like all of these frameworks are under Agile umbrella, but like Scrum, Kanban, they are frameworks for smaller teams. So for example, let's start with Scrum. So in Scrum, we split organization into small teams. we split time into short iterations, which we call sprints, like from 1 week to like 4 weeks normally. We optimize the release plan and update priorities. We also optimize the processes. We split our work into concrete deliverables. And we have like 3 to 9 people in the Scrum team normally. And people work like independently on these teams, like we call them pizza-sized teams, and deliver incrementally in like 1 to 4 weeks. Whereas Kanban is less prescriptive, and it might feel like less organized initially. That's why people, like teams who are new to Agile, they prefer Kanban because it's less prescriptive, so they feel like they have more freedom. But no, in Kanban, we don't have sprints. We are not time boxed. But what we do in Kanban, we really like limit work in progress. So we track stories on the board, like from to do in progress done, and we measure the time, like how much time they've been in, for example, in progress or in testing, or how much time it took for the approval. And we, for example, we set up the work in progress limits. So as a developer, for example, my limit is going to be like 2 stories at a time. So if I can't take extra work until I finish these 2 stories, whereas in Scrum, we have like planned, let's say like 15 stories for the next 2 weeks, and I can have like 5, 7 stories in progress, and nobody measures that. But in Kanban, it's really like to start doing one thing, to finish it, and move on to the next one. So this is like very like simple nutshell, what is the main difference. And SAFe, it's a scaled framework. It's kind of when you have larger organization with lots of dependencies, and you need Scrum of Scrum. So you have, for example, 5, 7 teams, or sometimes like 15 teams working on the same feature, on the same like items, the same delivery. So you need more coordination between these teams. So like if it's in Scrum, we have stand up for the teams. In SAFe, we have stand-ups for Scrum Masters to help them coordinate across the teams. And also in SAFe, we need to plan dependencies accordingly. So we have increment plannings where all teams gather together for 2 full days or 4 half days. What we do in my organization, trying to accommodate our offshore teams like in India. So we can't spend 1 full day because of the time difference, so we broke it into 4 like smaller days. So SAFe is like scaled Scrum, let's put it this way. And I know there were questions about Nexus. So Nexus is kind of also scaled framework to maintain dependencies. So if your like team's organization has like lots of dependencies and coordination, and like many teams are working on the same delivery, so Nexus should work better for that, but I never worked with Nexus, so I can't recommend or not recommend until I try it out. So hope I answered your question. Let's move on to the mistakes I've made as a coach. And let's just look at the Agile Coaching Competency Framework. So here we see, like, as a coach, you need to be good at teaching, meaning instructing others in specific knowledge, skills, and perspective. Mentoring, sharing knowledge, skills, perspectives that foster the personal and professional growth of someone else. Agile lean practitioner applies Agile practices, lives Agile values, takes on new challenges with Agile mindset. You also can have like professional coaches, like ICF certificate, like as an example of that, but partnering with clients in creative process that inspires their personal and professional potential. You need to be a great facilitator because there are going to be lots of conversation you need to facilitate, which means a neutral process holder who guides group through processes that help them come to solutions and make decisions. And the meat of what is making you a great coach is technical mastery, transformation mastery, and business mastery. So when I started, I was very terrified because I didn't have technical mastery. at all. I never been a developer or coder. As I mentioned earlier, I was an electrical engineer, and here the conversation was technical. And like as a Scrum Master, at first I didn't understand 60-70% of what my team is talking about. So I worked hard. I tried to understand processes and main tools, what we're using as an organization. But then growing into coach, I had the same fear again, because I feel like as a coach, you need to be more involved and better understand technical side of that. But what I was told, technical is one of the 3 mastery you can have. So for a start, master just one, and you can be a coach if you're good at transformation mastery or business mastery. So since I've been working in organizations which were transforming when I was a Scrum Master, and then became a coach again in the organization which was transforming. So we kind of agreed that, okay, for now, let's say I have expertise in transformational mastery. So the recommendation was to go to business mastery, which means expert at customer and value-driven information and product development, which I'm still pursuing. So that's just like to set the stage what Agile coach is and what this person does for the organization. So coaching, facilitating, mentoring, teaching, choosing the right framework to the organization, and speaks a business language, can collaborate with business stakeholders such as VP, CEO level, and transformation mastery, so helps people to transform. And definitely lots of conflicts and politics and conflicts of interest is going during the transformation. So again, like coaching, facilitating, mentoring, and teaching is your great tool set to resolve it. And why I was telling you that? Because of the first mistake I've made when I was transitioning. So this mistake is the assumption that leaders know what they hire you for, that they know who Agile coach is and what they want you to do, that they know what Agile is, why they want Agile, and that they're ready to transform. And it happened to me like 2 or 3 times until I realized that, like, even if people are enthusiastic during the interview, they speak Agile jargon, they ask you right questions about the team, about the frameworks, about the burn down charts, and like even Spotify model sometimes, and hubs, it's already safe language, and platforms, etc. But it doesn't guarantee that they are ready for your role and they actually know what you want to do there. So it happened to me, as I mentioned, first, like 1-2 times when I was invited to the interview. It went great, so I accepted the offer. I came to the organization and appeared that those leaders, they watched 2-3 YouTube videos on Spotify model or on SAFe or Agile in general. That's where they got the jargon. They understood kind of like high level that Agile is a new waterfall. So in their mentality, it's still like Scrum Master is a project manager and an Agile coach is a portfolio manager. And that was the expectations from you hidden in between Agile terminology. So then it was hard for myself, for the organization, and for leaders, because the expectations weren't met, neither from my side, nor from that side. So this made me to be more cautious during the job interview. And that's where the slide came from. People who are far from Agile and software, they think that coaches, like whoever, friend, mentor, teacher, consultant, counselor, product manager, or portfolio manager. But what coach really does, it's to build trust, create teams, brings love and harmony to the workplace, and creates high-performing teams. But unfortunately, not many people know about it upfront. So how I solved that mistake now, like whoever calls me or invites me to the interview, even prior to the interview, I asked a detailed job description. And I know everyone has a job description, and like kind of like have a quick talk about it before inviting you to the interview. But I asked for the detailed one, and like specifically what the expectations are. And then when I am at this job interview, I ask questions, making sure that people know what Agile is, if they've done Agile before, if they never had Agile experience, if they really understand what Agile is and what my expectations are from the organization and what I can do for them, and if they're ready for this or not. And I know that many of my mentees, they kind of scared to hear that because everyone wants to get a job, and so they want to agree on everything just to get a job. But then, unfortunately, it's not a match neither for your organization, and you have to leave in a few months. So it's rather to avoid this mistake before you start working. And the next mistake is time devotion to all of the teams and kind of a chaotic approach. So when I just joined a new organization, I was given 7 teams right away, and all of them were new to Agile. We were in the middle of Agile transformation for the department. So I was quite ambitious, thinking that I can help all of these teams at the same time. So I had a plan. I was planning to work like with a Scrum Master, with the product owner, to observe the team for all of the teams a little bit, and then started coaching them, like jumping like to a few meetings on a week for like each team, and provide my wisdom and hoping that people will get it. But no, that was a mistake. So first, it was a chaotic approach, so people didn't see me as a professional, and also people weren't ready to switch their mindset yet. So actually, the most rejection I got from the Scrum Masters, who I expected to be my besties and my allies, but actually I needed to convince the Scrum Masters first that this approach is better. And even like some simple things like, why do we agree on story points, or why do we want a team charter, or why do we need to go through the team agreements? It didn't come from Scrum Masters, kind of like what I expected in my ideal role. So Scrum Masters knows all of this. They come to me and we decide on the best approach, how to deliver this to the team, and then convince the team, like, no, I need to battle Scrum Masters first to get their buy-in, and then come to the teams. And when you try to help 7 teams simultaneously, also working in different time zones, I don't know if you read this book, Coaching Agile Teams by Lisa Atkins, one of my mentors and women I was inspired when I just started my Agile career. So she mentions a few negative Agile coach approaches, and one of them is a butterfly, when the coach is flying from one meeting to another, asking like a general philosophical question and hoping that they can help the team. So that was my mistake. And here on the slide, we see like press the gas and brake simultaneously wouldn't help you much when you drive. So the same with the teams. If you come like once a while, observe them, find something for improvement, and then try to improve within this meeting, and then disappear for a few days, you can't build the habit. Because to change people's behavior, you need to build the habit. And to build the habit, you kind of need to press gas slowly, but continuously. So continuously coming to the team meetings every day and keep pressuring them a little bit more and more to change that behavior. So that was my second very painful mistake. So how could I avoid it and do better next time? Is first to introduce myself to 7 teams and start observing them, but at the same time work with leaders and set up the expectations with leaders and the teams on who are like the most important to mobilize right now, because I don't have capacity for 7 teams simultaneously, so I will need to juggle with them until they used to me and know my approach. And also when we start transforming them a little bit and when they're ready to push, so like after a few months, it's going to be easier. But for now, let's just choose 2 or 3 teams I can work with right now. And then the first months, focus mostly on this, like 2-3 teams, but also keep some attention to the other teams so they won't forget you. And when you see like the first improvement with first 2-3 teams, move on to another 2-3 teams and after the first round, you pressure them a little bit more to transformation, but you already established trust with them. So it gets like easier and easier. And after maybe like 4 or 5 rounds, when they get certain level of maturity, when you transform Scrum Masters and product owners and teams see the results. So after that, they start asking for your time, for your advice, and then you can handle 7 teams at a time. The third mistake, and another question I got from Stefania, how to monitor people's burnout. So this is the other mistake I didn't do when I just started. I saw that teams are busy. I saw that people work extra hours. I communicated it to the leadership, but it was kind of like an organizational culture. So instead of pressuring this more and even identify the burnout in advance and start talking about it in advance, I was kind of like gave up and okay, that's organizational culture. I can't change this. So what I can change is to set up a new framework for the team. So we started switching from Kanban to Scrum, etc. So I kind of neglected that burnout issue, and then a few people just left for a few weeks, and one person even for a few months because they were burned out. So how to monitor burnout, how to understand that someone is about to burn out. But first of all, like you can't understand it if you are not working closely with the person, because it's like really like behavioral changes you need to monitor. So for example, if the person is like active, they become like, they start slows down a little bit or being like less enthusiastic. So it might be maybe like they didn't sleep well or something personal is happening. And one-on-one and also establishing trust also helps with this to understand what is happening. So you notice the signs like person becomes less active or like less enthusiastic, provide less ideas than before, or like care less. So maybe start talking with this person, and during one-on-one they can address that, yeah, actually I've been working for like 10 plus hours for the last few weeks or so. So that is kind of like a sign to monitor for burnout. Another situation when the person is kind of like command and control, and then you work with this person and see improvements, or even like not command and control, like you see something needs to be improved with this person, maybe like micromanaging or perfectionism or like etc. In my case is like dare to speak up and address my ideas, for example. So you start working with this person, you see the improvement, and then you notice that person without no reason is coming back to their initial behavior and like by default habits. So sometimes it's about the person who is not ready to transform, but sometimes the person is burning out, and when we burn out, we're kind of like getting back to our by default settings. So if you notice this pattern, so maybe it's something to monitor closer. Maybe the person is burning out and we can help them until it's too late. Another sign is that person painfully reacts on any new like proposition you have, like work related. For example, I used to work with a product owner who already was leading 2 teams, and then their Scrum Master left to another organization, so they needed to cover Scrum Master role as well. And I got to one meeting and told guys, we have like a great score of like our team maturity, but maybe let's brainstorm how we can be better. And I saw pain on his face just like by proposing that, because for him, I was proposing more work for him and for the team, and he was already like so overloaded. So whatever like new, even if it's like a small thing, I don't know, like label 5 story tickets in Jira, it's already like extra work. When you see like person reacts painfully on the new work, however like small it is, or like even maybe like not express verbally, but you see the body language. Also, it's very important to monitor body language when you work with people, especially when you monitor their burnout. If they slightly change their face or like body language, they act like closing, they're scared, oh my God, new workload. So this also can lead to burnout. And something what drags energy out from the team is like unproductive communication, like too seriousness, longer, or like routine. I just noticed that it was cut off from the slide. So routine, boring work, or like lots of politics in the organization. So this also drags the energy down from your team. So if you have like all of this or some of this in the organization and started noticing like behavioral changing in some of the team members, so probably these are signs of the burnout, which I monitor way closer now than I used to do before. Mistake number 4, not having a team agreement with my developer teams, coaches teams, and leadership team. So I already started talking about it. How could I avoid being hectic with my 7 teams at a time? Is to have agreements with all of the parties involved. So with coaches, how are we going to divide and conquer? What do we expect from each other? Are we aligned on our approach? With leadership, what their expectations are? Does it match with my expectations? And with my teams. So to address upfront that, hey, I'm new here. I have all of you. I love all of you. It's not my preference to start with one and then postpone another. It's just an agreement that that feature or that product line is more important for leadership. That's why I'm going to start with these 2 teams, but slowly move to all of you until I will be able to juggle without dropping the balls. And other things we can agree on to set up the expectations, because assumptions are the killers of productive communication. And what I noticed, many like teams and even like people in leadership positions storming because they assume like certain behavior or like a certain answer and then receive something else. So they feel disappointment, or they feel like something like wrong is happening, or something what they clearly not expected. So to avoid these unpleasant situations, it's better to over communicate than under communicate, even if we feel like silly or people might be nervous. Hey, we already like spoke about it. Why do we need to agree on this? Like, for example, on the Miro board during the facilitation. No, it's better to be stupid at this meeting, but over communicate, agree on everything we can agree to avoid assumptions in future. Saves you lots of energy, trust me. Mistake number 5, using only 1 or 2 coaching styles. So this is just like 4 main situations, but definitely there are way more coaching styles. Like each person is individual. Styles are also individual. So like dominating, powerful coaching, colluding, like people can be at different development styles. Like if you heard about Shuhari, so Shu is the beginning, Hai is in the middle, and Shri is kind of like master. So for each of these, you need to adjust your style and find approach for your coachee, if it's like one-on-one coaching or team coaching. And on this picture, I show the 3 styles which are not working. So if it's like low commitment and low support, it's not coaching at all. There can be dominating coaching, which is low support and high challenge. But we can use this style sometimes when people like teams rebel and they don't want to transform, not because they can't or it's hard, but they just don't want. So we can use dominating style, but if people are like participating and willing to transform and we are dominating, so it's probably something wouldn't work with this specific team. Colluding is another style which shows high support and low challenge, and this is where I found myself initially when I was a junior coach, like high support and high challenge is the powerful coaching, but again, powerful coaching can be different. It can be like supporting style for a mature team, or like more directive style for less mature team. So when you start, you have kind of like one or two tools in your pocket, or like one or two styles. But if you want to be like really great coach, you need to find each style for each situation and be able to improvise and mix the styles and choose like the best for the individuals, but don't try to place the individual under your coaching style. And I am telling you that because I noticed like many cases when people actually tried to change their coaches and adjust coaches to the coaching styles they have. So for example, if someone like prefers dominating style, they dominate with people even who don't need dominative style and don't see that there are different styles and each person needs the adjustment. But that was my mistake as well when I was just started. So I didn't try to bring people, like a kind of shape them under my coaching style. I was just, we can't be like matched with everyone. So probably this is not just my coachee and I am not their coach. They just need someone else. But no, it didn't make me a good coach. It made me a junior coach. The sixth mistake is finding a balance between advising and coaching. So we know that the coach's role is to ask powerful questions, but sometimes when people are new to Agile, you need to be more directive and actually like consult them what to do. But they need to have like knowledge themselves. You just provide them with better approaches. So for example, here we have a wardrobe like full of messy clothes, and we have a clean wardrobe with working with coach. So as you see, nothing new was edited here. We have the same boxes, the same like bags, the dress. It was just organized better. So the balance between where you let the team to decide and when you direct them what to do. So as a coach, you need to see how to organize them better. So when they don't see how to organize them, here where you are to provide them with a direct feedback. But when they talk about specifics, like for example, what technical tool to use for DevOps or how to organize releases, I don't know, because first of all, I never worked with DevOps. I don't have technical background. And I also like knew for the organization, for example, so they have better knowledge of the organization, they have better knowledge of technical process. But what I can do, I can direct them on the approach that, guys, you need DevOps to be progressed. I can gather them in the room, I can facilitate, I can direct them in the decision making. But how to make the decisions and like what they decide, it's up to the team, and here where my balance is. And the last mistake is not using metrics to measure team progress. So I'm kind of like not a metrics believer, especially when we talk about team spirit, organizational culture, because these are like intangible processes inside the organization. So how can we measure them, like to bring the rule and set up the numbers and to decide, okay, we need to get like the 10 score to be agile, like, no, it doesn't work this way. So wherever I came and people asked me for like metrics for the culture or like any other like scores, and I even had arguments with my agile coaches, colleagues who were like true metrics and believe in that. But what I realized that the teams and leaders need to see the progress, even if this like progress is not like what we can fully measure. So if we say like we want to measure a 3-dimension with a 2-dimension ruler, it wouldn't be like perfect, but still they need to see the progress, because the progress is what motivates them. So inside, I know that we can feel like the culture, we can feel the improvement. We can't really measure, but at least when we place something at score. And again, here where my role as a coach take place, to create questions, like powerful, inspiring questions where they can measure themselves and like truly realistically identify the score, and then ask these questions like after a few months and see the result and see the improvement. So it's easy for me to feel the improvement because I work with teams, I observe from the distance, I know what is happening, but it appears that it's hard for my teams to see this growth because they are inside the situation day after day, so they just don't see it. And it was harder to motivate when you don't see any like tangible score. So that was my last mistake I wanted to share with you today, is like using metrics, even though you know inside that you can measure 3D with 2D, but it's still like better than nothing to show the progress. So that's all for today. And I just wanted to tell that I have a book on Amazon, It Starts With You, where I share 40 letters with nuggets on how to get a job interview and be better at your job and what you need to do when you are new hire at a new organization. And also my website, beagilenow.com, if you want to know more what I do and collaborate, and LinkedIn. If you have any questions and want to connect for future, feel free to add me here. So Stefania, back to you.
Aina, thank you so much. It was indeed inspiring, webinar, like lots of things to learn and to take away. We have also a question from Anatoly about what metrics would you suggest to measure according to your mistake number 7?
Great questions. Thank you, Anatoly. So it depends on the organization, like what they want to improve on. But like first metrics we can use is like overall agility. So if the team has ceremonies set up, so it's kind of like yes or no in a simple way, but you can like bring it like a divide into like Shuhari model or like crawl, walk, run, and fly. So for example, like the categories, like the ceremonies. So the ceremonies are set and most team members attended them. So it's going to be, let's say, crawl. Then the ceremonies are like set and team members see the value of them and attend them even when Scrum Master is not there. So it's walk. Then for a run, Scrum Master even like not attend, like stand up. So some other ceremonies, so team members are like self-running it by their own and try and like find creative way to improve. That's run. And then something like force for fly. Another metric is like a leadership and team spirit, like one team, one vision. Do the team members feel like safe to collaborate and to address their ideas? Did they pass a storming stage, etc. for the leadership? Then something like regarding the product owner, like more like product owner role regarding the backlog, but also like team also like participates in backlog grooming and refinement. So how good are we at backlog grooming? Like how many stories do we have like planned ahead for like how many sprints, like etc. Then like client oriented or like customer oriented metrics. Then few technical metrics. So again, like starting with DevOps. So does the team use DevOps? How far we are in our automation? And Anatoly, if you're interested, I can brainstorm a little bit after this presentation and provide you with more like clear metrics, because what I create now is kind of like improvisation and creating on the fly.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Yeah, please contact me on LinkedIn and I will provide you with a list.
If anyone has any questions, please, like speak up or raise your hand. We have just 1 minute remaining, so we might have some time. And yeah, meanwhile, Aina, thank you so much for the webinar. It was indeed really helpful. And thank you for the, like some insights about mistakes and, like scenes also that we can learn based on your experience too.
Thank you, Stefania, for inviting, and Lydia, thank you for jumping in and become our keynote star of today.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of questions regarding SAFe. So you are providing how you are refining features, on what sprint exactly you're starting to refine them, because we are having an issue here. So with refinement, because when we are on a planning week, so we understand that it's like too late to refine anything, or we are having some features, jumped up into our capacity just before this planning week. So yeah, and when we are trying to refine ahead, so we don't have too much information to understand what we are going to do. So business don't have at that moment. Yeah, and as a result, we have enablers. So not features, yet enablers and some investigation during this PI for the next one. So it's like a way of working too, and it works actually. Yet, it's like, so how you are doing that? So it's like a question.
Yeah, so we're still learning. It takes like few years for leadership and to the team to find this balance on when they can deliver the features to the team so they can plan their stories prior to QAP. Right now, we also have like lots of enablers, lots of spikes, etc.
Yeah.
We started with like providing the list of features few days prior to increment planning, which was definitely a hard time for the team to plan during the increment planning what they just like received a few days ago. But
Yeah.
I'm pushing the business to start grooming after the first sprint. So kind of like we just done increment planning, the first sprint, everybody is taking rest after that hectic week. But first sprint is over, let's start planning. I know it's painful, I know we don't have enough requirements, but let's start here. Then hopefully by the end of the fourth sprint, we got everything. So teams will have 2 sprints to gather what they need before increment planning, but it's not ideal yet. So I feel like it's going to be another 2-3 increment planning until we get to the stage I'm dreaming about.
Yeah, the same as it's the same that I did. Yeah, so I raise it within the business team. So yeah, so we are working. So I have 3 teams. So I'm Scrum Master of 3 teams. So it's not 7 teams. So I even can imagine how it works with 7 teams. How to yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your experience. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you for the question, Lydia.
Hi, Lydia. I actually can give a little bit of different insight on your question. When you're working with a very huge organization, like a couple of thousand people, and you have portfolio management, then right after PR planning, you start working with contact group of stakeholders like finance, marketing, investors on your next PI. And you're discussing with them economic feasibilities and details, and you have like weekly sessions with them. But that's only possible if you have huge portfolio management.
We have sessions, weekly sessions with business. So yeah, so we have preliminary planning or something like that. So pre-planning. Yeah, so it's called pre-planning. Yeah, and it's held on weekly basis. Yet it's like a meeting, for all the teams and for all the features. And at that moment, business just can't understand what they would like to have, for example, in 2 weeks. And
okay, I see.
Yeah,
Then I have a solution for that. It should be focused. So each product director that is responsible for their own product only hosts their own weekly meeting and engages stakeholders for their own goals.
area, yeah. Yeah, I guess that should
I'm
work.
so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. We have run out of time and I guess we should finish. However, I would encourage you to meet and also discuss on SAFe. Plus, we will also think something, like to arrange for their generally on SAFe topic later.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.